there. I absolutely love that song. It's called Finding Happiness or something, like Getting Happy, which I absolutely love. Good morning. Good morning. Thanks for joining me on Monday. It's a beautiful summer day as we are making our way through July. And we have another great session to bring to all of you this morning that I'm very excited about. So I just wanted to welcome our folks for this week. We have the fabulous Don Shea, as many of you know him. He is our amazing managing broker who runs Evanston, Northbrook, and the fabulous Lake Geneva, Wisconsin office. So good morning, Mr. Don Shea. How are you this Monday morning?
I'm doing well, Amy. It is a beautiful summer day. How are you?
I'm good. I'm good. And then we also have the fabulous Victoria Schutte, who is joining us this morning. She is out of our Oak Park office, runs an amazing business out in that part of our Illinois location, but she also has her license in Michigan and does some really nice business out there as well. So really excited to have Victoria here this morning. We had a great prep call on Friday. I already feel my zen, Victoria, when I was chatting with you, because I love the way you approach your business. And I think you're going to be able to share some incredible stuff this morning with our folks. So welcome.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. Morning, everyone.
All right, before we get into our great conversation, though, you know the drill. We're going to talk about what's coming up this week, this upcoming Wednesday. If you last week joined Riley and Irma, it's time to join them again, where they're going to be talking in more detail about utilizing Creative Studio for your listings. All the options that are out there, all of the different pre-done templates that you can tap into to make your marketing for your listings very easy to execute on. And then for all of you in that pipeline and prospecting challenge, I love it because we have our second pop by challenge of the summer. So this is going to be you getting geared up to get in front of your people and making connections, which, as we all know, and we're going to talk a little bit about today, is the name of the game. So really excited for all of you to join in on Thursday and get your pop by plans in action. All right, let's talk about who we want to call out, though, this week. I'm so excited to give a shout out to Holly Himmelman. Holly is one of our probably biggest followers. She's on every Monday. She jumps into so many of the things on Wednesday, and she's engaging in our pipeline contest this summer. So what I love is that she just is doing the stuff that we encourage her to do, and it ends up working. So I've got one call out about how she had a client who purchased 2 years ago and never responds to anything, text, emails, calls, event invitations. Does anybody out there have clients like that where you're like, are they even alive? And you know what, but she kept on plugging away, and she decided to send him a digital listing presentation with current stats in his neighborhood. And not only did she end up talking with him, but he ended up reaching out with some questions about selling. So we have to remember that people have their lives and they've got stuff going on. And even though you're continuing to reach out and you may not hear back, it doesn't mean that they're not getting it. And when it's time for them to do something, they will engage you. So Holly, way to stick with it. One other thing I want to call Holly out for is she sent us a note that said that this weekend, or maybe it was last week, no, I think it was this weekend, sorry, that she actually went door knocking. Love you, Holly, because I know how many of us are terrified of that idea. And she said she ran into a couple of neighbors, made some good connections. So I just love that, Holly, you are putting yourself out there for more great stuff to come. So congratulations, you're going to get a little bit of something from your coaching and training team. All right, so let's move on and hear about some of the amazing things that our fabulous Victoria is doing in her business. I'm going to go ahead and stop this share so that we are on full screen and everyone can see us. So before we tap into Victoria, as we all know, I always like to get words of wisdom from our amazing managing brokers. So Don Shea, you are on the hot seat. What are we seeing right now? You have been navigating 3 different offices, lots of agents that are doing great things, but I know a lot of people who are getting more and more nervous as we are honing in on this August 17th, kind of rip the Band-Aid off time frame, where we know some big changes are happening just in how we have to be ready for business. So, tell me a little bit about what you're seeing and maybe what you're doing right now as you're coaching your agents.
Sure. I think this is a great topic for us to be talking about now. Yes, August 17th is coming up, but really we have to ramp up for the fall market. And the rules will be a little bit different when we start this. We've been talking about this change since November of last year. What's that, 8 or 9 months already? And what I'm seeing is that there really is a good mix of, is a big mix of both anxiety, but also a whole lot of confidence. The reality is people are just getting used to a new conversation that they have to have. And change is never easy. I mean, it's just hard. Yes, I've been talking to people from Lake Geneva all the way through to Evanston, including Northbrook. And the conversations tend to be very similar. A lot of folks really have to embrace the idea. I think that what they do is valuable, and we have to find a really good way to talk to people about that. It's uncomfortable because now we also have to attach money to it. Okay. Mm-hmm. Here's what I'm going to do for you. Here's when I'm going to do it. And by the way, then I'm going to get paid. Okay. As an industry, we're supposed to have been doing this for a while, and we just haven't done it yet. In Evanston, I have this conversation with a roundtable in Northbrook every week. Lake Geneva Wisconsin just rolled out their docs. One of the things that is consistent is the folks who are having the conversations are really confident in what they do. They know how to explain it. And yes, there's some concern and fear, if you will, when they start to get to the money portion of the conversation with the client, but they plow on through it, but they're confident about it. Other folks haven't gotten there yet. And I don't want to say they're wishy-washy with the facts because the facts are all over the place right now. But the reality is they are having the conversations. If they're trying to find that dialogue, they're trying to find the strategy and the words to use, it's uncomfortable because as an industry, we've never had to do this before. I want everybody to know that there are success stories in this marketplace. Mm-hmm. What is it, since March, I think, when everything came down where they're trying to separate buyer and seller commissions, a lot of your peers have already had closings where the buyer paid, if not all, a significant portion of the commission. I have other agents who, before they even take somebody out, they're having the conversation that you may have to pay me because the other side may not. I'll give a shout out to Jake Hansen. He and I had a conversation last week, and he told me about a buyer moving from Illinois to Wisconsin. They were looking for a luxury, $1 million plus house. And before they got off the phone, he broached the topic and he said, I don't know what's going to be offered, but there could be a chance. I may ask you to pay my fee. The client said, how much was that? He said, could be as much as $24,000. Mm-hmm. After the initial hesitation, they talked about it a little more and it was fine. Again, it's just being confident, knowing where you want to take the conversation, and realizing it's something we're supposed to have done since 2000. We just haven't. So, when I have these conversations, there are a couple of things that I think we can, I hope people really take and start doing. The most important thing is doing those activities, participating in all the training that's going on, the roundtables in the offices. I know we have a bunch of ABR sessions now being taught in several classes. Each of them is really built on helping you find your message, helping you understand the words to use, really mastering your confidence in the value you provide to your clients. A couple things that I've been pushing hard. Kevin Rines has several sessions coming up in the next few weeks in various offices. I love the fact that in these sessions, he's going to be talking about the strategies. How do you broach the topic with the client? Victoria, we were talking about this a few minutes ago. Okay. What do you say? What's the language to use? What's your script, if you will? More importantly, though, we can read it on a sheet of paper and say, okay, I got it. And then all of a sudden you're in front of somebody. You have to hear yourself saying it. So part of these sessions Kevin's running, it's just going to be practicing, role playing, hearing yourself say what you want to say to a client at some point in the future. I mentioned the ABR sessions. When Emily Sachs-Wong mentioned this a few weeks ago, I immediately texted both my Northbrook and Evanston offices saying, let's schedule North Shore Barrington. And today we have 25 people coming to Evanston to do the ABR. We do Northbrook next week. A little plug, if you haven't done it yet, you haven't signed up, we have space in Northbrook, so come on over. But really learning how to work with buyers, it's intrinsic to what you do every day, but we have to bring it back to the surface to understand how to explain, what to explain. Just getting comfortable with that dialogue again. That's really where I think a lot of I was going to use the word fear. I think for some there may be, but I think let's go with concern. That's a little bit better. I think the other thing to do is to hear what your peers, the people you sit next to in the office, are talking about. You've got to be a part of these roundtable discussions. I've got one in Northbrook that we've been doing since last November, and it's really helpful. Same thing in Evanston. We're starting to do them in Lake Geneva because they only just rolled out their documents. So now we know what we have to talk about. But it's fun to hear people who used to say, there is no way I'll ever get a buyer to sign this document, especially before we've even seen a house. Last week, I heard somebody say, oh yeah, I got them to sign it, no problem. I mean, it's just, we build up this huge concern that, oh, they're going to reject me, they're going to go find somebody else. When in point of fact, they don't know until we tell them and help them understand what it is, and they do it. But the experience of being part of those discussions is really good because you're going to hear that you're not the only one doing it. Okay, you're not the only one wrestling with what do I say and how do I do it. On that note, Amy, last week you mentioned this. At Properties is not the only brokerage that's going through this change. It's the entire industry from New York to California. Everybody is wrestling with how do I move this conversation up to be the first thing we talk about before we see a house. I think the key in having that discussion, I've said this twice already, is just knowing what your value is, breaking it down, being able to share it in plain English, what you're going to do for them, when you're going to do it, how you're going to help them get the house, and really just have that magic formula that they get and they understand and they're on board with you. Like Jake found after explaining it, the buyer didn't balk at a $25,000 commission. Yeah. So, there were two things. As I was thinking about getting ready for this meeting over the weekend, I thought about the last two calls. I think you had two superstars on. Brett Mosier from, I think, Libertyville, and Nikki Rocco. I really love what they talked about because to me, Amy knows me really well, perhaps better than anybody else at the company, and I apologize. I love systems, okay? Yeah. When I heard Brett talking about his onboarding discussion or meeting with the client, it could fall into that session where you go, okay, I'm just going to ask you a bunch of questions. But he turned it into a discovery. He wanted to find out what the client was looking for. What do they need? What do they want? What are they hoping for? And then he uses it as a chance to transition into, here's how I'm going to help you get to that point. Okay, I mean, it becomes a seamless and very natural conversation. When Nikki was talking last week, I stopped what I was doing and I started taking notes furiously. I love the fact that she has an operations manual. And I think the new page that's in there is talking with the buyer up front. It's just we're accelerating or moving that conversation from the back end of the transaction to the front end. And it's about that simple. So, I think as we get ready for this, there's going to be a lot of concern, trepidation. I think people just have to do something to get past that and really lean on your peers, lean into the training that we have. It's a conversation we haven't had regularly, but it's going to be one that we have to just build in as part of our business practice. So,
yeah, I love that.
One motto, if I walked away from anything from this session, sharing anything, it's let's start treating our buyers the way we treat our sellers. Just let's do a lot more prep and setting them up for success.
Yeah, I love it because we do that so professionally, right? We already have a great process usually in place when it comes to meeting with a seller. And quite honestly, it's because we have to get something signed. So now it's just transitioning into that, as we look at our buyers and kind of taking a very similar process. Well, I love that. Don, you always have so many wisdom nuggets just coming from your brain to share with everybody on a Monday morning.
It's cluttered in there, but thank you.
I love it. I love it. All right. Well, this is teeing up Victoria quite nicely. So I wanted to talk, Victoria, because during our prep call, one of the things I loved is that you seem very calm, focused, really just sort of zen about, and very intentional about, focusing on building your business. And I think you're also really targeted and focused on taking every opportunity this year into the summer to get your business really teed up, I think, for this fall. So how are you really feeling, and what are you doing right now to take action in your business?
Yeah, absolutely. And dovetailing off of what Don just talked about, yeah, it's for me this summer, it's all about teeing up things for the fall. That's my dinging. Apologies for that. And also, embracing what's going to happen in August as it relates to the industry. And it's industry wide, right? So we're all dealing with it across the country. So that brings me confidence right from the get-go, right, as it relates to those discussions. But getting back to what I'm doing this summer, really building on what I've been building on since COVID, since you guys started doing Coffee and Amy and Kevin, embracing training, embracing the free classes at NAR, embracing my process, which is very ninja-esque, right? I tweak it a little bit, but I took ninja, I embraced ninja, and that's really helped establish the basics for my business. Outreach, morning routine, Popeyes. I'm preparing one now. All the things that really create a process and consistency, right? We've heard this throughout Accelerate. You got to be consistent. You've got to know what your plan is week to week, and you execute. So it's really pretty simple, right? It's just a matter of doing it. As it relates to the summer specifically, when I was in planning sessions last fall and into the winter, coming up with my marketing budget, I really felt it was important to do a lot more community outreach, right? I come from a background of government, right? So I worked for park districts, I worked for villages. Those consumers are my consumers, right? So I felt it really important to get out into the community. Specifically, with a wonderful colleague at my office, we partnered with the park district to come up with some ideas about how to get ourselves out there. So we set up a meeting with them and we said, hey, look, what are you guys doing this summer? How can we create some synergy here? How can we help you? How can we help? How can you help us? How can we help you? And in so doing, we've created this really great system where we sponsor some community events. And we're getting in front of a lot of people. Difficult for two introverts, but together, working collaboratively. We're not on a team, but we said, hey, look, this will be less scary for us as introverts in front of hundreds of people if we do it together. And it's been super fun and it's been super successful. So we've sponsored some concerts, hundreds of people attend, and we also have connected with some businesses. One being, think of a coffee buggy like a food cart. So this woman is amazing. She has an amazing Italian coffee buggy. We've sponsored her. We've sort of parlayed that into lots of social media around it, and it's been fantastic. So really concentrating on outreach, teeing up for fall, moving my business as I would otherwise, understanding that this thing is happening in August, but it's going to happen to everyone. And I'm educating myself and creating confidence around those conversations.
I love it. So it's just, you're in there kind of just taking action. And I feel like I love the idea when we had talked on Friday about you kind of just diving into the community, because, I do think that there are always so many opportunities. And I love, like, one of the things you talked about is that this coffee buggy is also at the farmer's market. So you're kind of out and about amongst your people and handing out free coffee and just engaging. But what I also love is, you show up, but you also create some prep in, part of it is being at the event, but the other part of it is actually having kind of a marketing strategy behind it. to promote it, because maybe not everybody shows up, but half the battle, as we talked about, is somebody even just getting the invite. So for our people out there listening, because I'm always about how can somebody take this nugget on Monday's call and turn it into their own action. Tell us a little bit about what you do kind of from a social media postcard, like how do you publicize and promote the event, let people know that you're going to be there, and then how do you get as much mileage as you possibly can, just sort of having that be a reason to reach out to people in your neighborhood and maybe even your sphere?
Yes, sure, sure. So absolutely, it takes some planning, right? There has got to be a little foresight, right, around this. So as it relates to the concerts, after we met with the Park District, and they were thrilled, by the way, thrilled to have us partner with them. It was $300 a concert, split between two people. It's a no-brainer, right? We show up, we set up the tent, we have all of our amazing swag. We, for example, used coloring sheets, branded coloring sheets for kids to come by. And then they would take the coloring sheet back to their parents. So that kind of creating that energy. As it relates to the planning, we did send out with the amazing marketing team a card, right? Letting people know, hey, here's when we're going to be at the concert. It's two things, right? It's showing that we are committed to the community. It shows that we're engaged with the community. It shows that we support our park district and the people that attend the concerts. In addition, it creates a buzz around the event. People are going anyway, but they're like, oh, cool, there's going to be something going on there in addition to just the music. Yes, and a week before, start the social media, start the outreach, use eBlast to promote it to my sphere. Also, use simple text messages with the cute graphic. Boom, 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 send it out to a gazillion people. Takes a little bit of time, but it's really not that big of a deal, quite honestly. And you're right, it's twofold. Number one, it gets people excited about the event. If they can't come, no sweat. I've achieved my goal. I've achieved my goal by sending it out there. And it engages my sphere. I've gotten lots of texts. Thank you so much for sponsoring this event. This is amazing. We can't make it, but let's get together soon. I can't make it, but hey, can we talk about the fall? Thinking about listing my home, et cetera, et cetera. So, it's what I call a parlay, right? You're parlaying that initial interest into something bigger, or it's a multiplier effect. You pick the term.
Yeah. And it's just getting you out there that you're part of the community, you're a real estate agent, and they kind of like see you everywhere. And I think your open house this Sunday, share the story, is a perfect example. You want people to just suddenly see your face and kind of keep continuing to recognize you, so that they, when that opportunity happens for them to be like, we're thinking about something related to real estate, that Victoria Schutte, right? So share what just happened at your open house. I thought it was kind of funny.
Yeah, absolutely. So, we did our coffee event. It was really successful. That was Saturday morning. I had a great listing this weekend with an open house scheduled for 2 days. And a woman showed up at the open house and said, hey, were you at the farmer's market this week? I saw you just this morning. I love that dress. So cute. I remembered you. And here you are. And I said, yes, thank you. Thank you for that lovely compliment. And I said to Amy, prepping for this call, that almost made my day, even more than the open house.
Totally.
Almost.
Well, she loved your dress. I mean, that's just like a no-brainer, right?
Yeah. But yes, it's the idea that, and I will say too, she was unrepresented. So, that gave me an opportunity. We had a connection immediately. I told her she could borrow my dress anytime she wanted to. But yes, absolutely. People can connect those dots easily, right? They see you, they see the postcard. Then they see you out at a community event. Then they might see me at the concert. My husband calls me the mayor of Oak Park. Not true, but I like to make those connections. So it's very helpful because you're recognizable and people see your brand and people see who you are. And they see that you're willing to give back, which is a huge part of why I joined up at Properties, right? I love that, that part of the business. It's important. It's important to a lot of the clients that I deal with. So it all comes full circle.
Yeah. And this time of year is so critical because everybody's out. It's summertime. I mean, it's like I moved from California to Chicago, and it was like, okay, I think I'm ready to stick it out because this summer season is so incredible. And, you know, I think you're a great example of really getting out in front of people, maybe getting immediate reaction, but also just being able to have the opportunity to build up some pipeline momentum as we move into the second half of the year, which I love. And some people said, Victoria, send us the link to the dress.
Will do. Spoiler alert, it was a Target dress, but anyway.
I love that, even better. That's the best. So Victoria, let me ask you this, because, you know, you are just, you know, taking action, getting, you know, creating opportunity for yourself, but what are you doing right now to get prepared? Because I do think that's what everybody is nervous about for, you know, some of the things that we are seeing come mid-August, because obviously there are some changes in how we are going to be engaging and having conversations with not really just our sellers, but predominantly, you know, our buyers, and getting comfortable with that. So anything specific you feel like you're doing to make yourself feel more confident, as we talked about, and more prepared as we move into the second half of the year?
Sure. My approach is twofold. Number one, I'm really consistent with my morning routine, right? And part of the morning routine includes meditation for me. So I find it very grounding. It doesn't have to be too woo-woo if you feel weird about it. For me, hot tip, I have found an app that's just air conditioning, right? It's just white noise. I put on headphones, I listen to that for 10 minutes, and all I do is listen to the white noise, right? So that just is like grounds me. Because look, this for all agents, not so much for consumers. I think there's a lot more anxiety on our end than there is on the consumer end. It can feel a little heavy, right? So this dissipates that heaviness. And then, you know, even more important or equally as important is the fact that I'm really educating myself, right? I'm getting the accredited buyers representation certification. I'm attending all of the classes like the one that's offered this Wednesday, right? Education, because the confidence in those conversations is imperative. And I see myself as a conduit for information. I see myself as an advocate for my clients. I see myself as a consultant. And all of those, again, it's me offering my services. I'm not selling myself. I am offering my services. And in exchange for that, there is compensation. And we'll just talk through that. No fuss, no muss. And I don't feel like I'm going to get rejected because the next person is going to also have to have that document signed. We're all doing it. This is just the way we do business. And I don't want to make light of it. No big deal. We're all going to get through it. It's all going to be fine. But your responsibility, or at least I feel my responsibility, is to become as well educated as I can so that I can have those conversations with a lot of confidence. And it has been successful. I'll give you a couple examples. I think I shared this last week. I had very frank conversations. No one cared. You know, I had a conversation with a sell buy, and I had a conversation with a seller as it relates to compensation. They both said, of course you're going to get paid. Of course we recognize your value. Look, are all the conversations going to be that easy? No, but that's okay. It's a matter of, and you've talked about this, Amy. It's not a no. It's oftentimes a request for more information, right? So just being patient with people, understanding that they may have a little bit of fear or they may be confused about the process. No big deal. I'm happy to explain it to you. This is what I'm here for, right? This is my pledge to you. I'm going to be honest. I'm going to tell you what's going on. And this is how I conduct my business. And this is just step one, right? Or maybe it's step 3 in your interaction with them. But I think it's twofold. Grounding yourself. You're okay. We're all okay. Everything's okay. And 2, education, so that you understand the issues, and of course, practicing the scripts or whatever, however you want to, whatever term you want to use, right? Yeah. When Liz and I were walking around the farmer's market this weekend, guess what we were doing? We were practicing.
Practicing.
We were like, hey, here's some coffee. Coffee's on us. What are you going to do? How are you going to handle this? Tell me what you're going to say. So it can be fun too. Again, it can feel heavy, but you can also create some levity out of all of this, right? It's cool. It's a change. It's something different. And I think it's a very useful document for all of us, honestly.
Yeah. And I also love that, you had mentioned, like, don't do this alone. All of us are trying to figure this out right now, right? So just making sure that you are engaging with your colleagues, because I think that is also so critically important right now. Don, Shea, problems there with your internet, your Wi-Fi? Because I was getting ready to ask you for a final thought that is absolutely amazing, but I don't know if we can, I think we can hear you. All right, so we're at 9:32. I'm going to ask each of you. Don, let's see if we can hear you. Any final words of motivation as we kick people off today?
I apologize. Our internet's going in and out. I think everybody is signing on at exactly the same time and watching some kind of streaming video.
Yeah, right.
I think coming out of this, the one thing I hope everybody does is figure out what you do. What's the value you bring to your client, to the transaction, to your business, and find a way in plain English to communicate that so that they're hearing you as a human being. As Victoria said, if you're comfortable with it and you present it in a way that they understand, they'll accept it very quickly. And I think that's, if anything, that's the most important thing for us to really master in the next 60 days or so, as we really change the way this industry has operated.
Yep, love it. All right, Victoria, you're sending everybody off for their Monday. What was our words of wisdom? How are you going to anchor us for the week?
I've got 4. Is that okay?
Sure.
Trust your own strength and smarts.
Okay.
You got this. You got this, right?
I've never heard that word before, that line before. Kidding.
Right, exactly. Someone very smart said that sometime. I'm not sure. You got this. Breathe, right? If you feel yourself getting nervous, stop yourself, take a couple deep breaths. You're good. Practice with a friend, right? And then educate yourself. A lot of NAR classes are free. I just did the NAR, the ABR. Okay, sorry, that I'm going on and on. That's it. Those are my 4.
Share with everybody one book. She has this great book to share with all of you that she just started reading or just read.
Yeah, I've read it a couple times. Yep, when we did Rolex, I sent this to all my colleagues that I was working with. Jensen Sherrill. She also wrote, "You Are a Badass." Pick it up. This will help you set your mind for what's to come.
All right. Remember, everybody, I'm going to swear, you're a badass. Get some badass habits. We are out of time, but I appreciate Don, Victoria. Thank you so much for sharing your wisdom and your insight this Monday. We hope all of you out there have an incredible week, and the same to both of you, and we'll see you all soon.